Hello, YouTube. This is the Galley La Podcast, and today this will be a type of theory slash analysis video, but we are going to be talking about whether the fight between Akainu and Kuzan was faked or not. So please like and subscribe if you have not. Leave a comment on your thoughts on this theory and just your thoughts on our review in general. I am Akainu Fanboy. The other guy is Geboss, and I guess we could say this would be a spoiler warning up until the most recent One Piece anime episode. But I don't know. Should we just say I don't know, maybe up to the recent manga chapter as well? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I don't think that there's too much that we have to talk about afterwards, after the latest anime chapter, or episode.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I think what is kind of this idea, I think there's been other theories that have kind of floated around with it for a bit. We've talked about it previously in some of our older videos. Is this idea where basically that the fight between Akainu and Kuzan was faked, where I think they did genuinely fight each other, but it was either to put on a show or that during the course of the fight, they come to more of an understanding that Kuzan needed to fake being defeated, basically, so that it could give him a good a justification for leaving the Navy, and the world would see that and hear about it, and then it could give him more of a premise and a believable cover to infiltrate the Blackbeard pirates. And some of the evidence we've seen with that is obviously we've seen Drake infiltrate the Beast Pirates, and we don't know necessarily if Kuzan is a part of Sword, because we don't know if Sword is really an infiltrating type of thing. I guess it works well with infiltration and everything because you have no liability and all the rest. If you get caught, the Navy can just write you off,
Mm-hmm.
But either way though, there is a shot that Kuzan was a part of Sword, or he did this infiltration opposite because they realized how big of a threat Blackbeard was after the Marineford War. And I think kind of the other side, maybe the countervailing evidence, is how you understand the character of Kainu and how this wouldn't be his type of thing, basically. But I don't know. So do you want to add on to anything? That's just kind of my initial presentation of the thoughts here.
So just going off this latest episode that we had with the flashback where we see Blackbeard and Aokiji teaming up for the first time. I don't know. I personally find it hard to believe that that he was faking it the whole time just because of his hostility with Blackbeard to begin with, and the fact that when he was ready to fight him straight up, if he thought that he was gonna go after him, and
mm-hmm.
even though they were getting along, it was Blackbeard's questioning of Aokiji's principles, that really made him think about what he was doing and what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that Aokiji is completely on Blackbeard's side, but I don't know how much if any of the thing with Akainu was faked,
Yeah, and I think I guess to respond to that, I would say you can question, you can have a re-examine, and I think he did change his mind on stuff, and he has, as we saw with Ohara, he has been kind of disillusioned with the world and justice and all the rest. But I think what's interesting though is he doesn't have to join the worst pirate crew ever, because of that moral disillusionment. He could join Shanks, or he could join the revolutionaries, or he could just chill by himself. I guess that's kind of what I find interesting there is it just seems so unbelievable to us is because he's going so far in the other direction,
Mm-hmm.
And I think some people could say well, why is he infiltrating him without the knowledge of Akainu and the Navy? He could have just been doing this himself. But I think kind of. Oh, sorry. I just want to add this one real quick. Another example of a Marine infiltrating would be Rocinante. That's another example of that right there. But
That's true.
Which Sengoku did have knowledge about at the time too. So that wasn't like a private little sword thing, but this was like actually like something that he was a part of as well. So I think kind of the reasons that can kind of point more towards Kuzan faking it though is like they went out of their way. I mean, so you pointed this out too, because I thought in Philip Z we already knew about his leg being melted off, but this is the first time in canon anime that we know that Kuzan's leg got destroyed by Akainu basically through the main story. And then so when it comes to,
it's kind of hard to fake. You didn't have to go that hard. Like Akainu.
But maybe you do.
Akainu only has some scars. Like Aokiji lost his whole leg, but continue.
Well, I think like he's trying to sell the cover though, right? Like Akainu has nothing to sell in a way,
That's a pretty big sell.
And for an admiral of the Navy to be like, yeah, I'm becoming a pirate, you have to like go to that extent though, and I think, I mean, so like for example, kind of like let's just say if Blackbeard's like, hey guys, I know, forget about everything from Marineford, I want to come back. Like I tried to find my crew and they took off some of my limbs in the process because I wanted to pursue justice, so now I'm coming. You know what I mean? Like that would kind of like a parallel from the other side, or like Sabo, for example. Wanting to join the Navy or something like that. It would have to be a pretty high bar to convince them, and I think I guess part of the reason I think with this, where people say like, well, Akainu is so vicious and brutal that. And it makes sense that like Kuzan would like want to fight him, and that's just a logic because they have different ideals, and that's true. But at the same time, though, like both of their justices kind of make sense for why they would do this op at the same time, because Kuzan's more like lazy justice, right? Where he has like kind of a moral fungibility with his beliefs. Like helping out Blackbeard pirates to destroy them, basically. And then Akainu is like, he wants justice at any cost. And one way he would do that is to like infiltrate, do any tactics possible to take down one of their biggest and the most evil like pirate groups in the world too. And I think one of the things that was like Jinbei even brings this up when he talks about Kuzan versus Akainu, is that it was like kind of uncharacteristic of Akainu to spare Kuzan's life, which is like weird. I think that's like honestly the strongest proof for this theory at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a pretty big thing, because we saw like even like Akainu murdered like just a random Marine who was running away from Marineford. So I don't know if he was thinking that he was going to have Aokiji as part of the Marines even after he got beaten for the position, because it was after that he got beaten that they that he resigned. So maybe he thought he could still use him, but
yeah, and I can see that, but then like I can also see like then Kuzan be like, no, I reject your offer, and he gets pissed off and he wants to kill him. Like he doesn't have the best temper,
Really?
Yeah, right. So, I guess like that whole thing, I find it interesting, and I mean, maybe it does require like some of the like. Let's just say if this does happen, it does require the community to kind of reevaluate how they perceive his character. I'm not saying he's a good guy. It kind of like goes with like him wanting to like maybe break off from the world government with the Gorosei. But I think if you understand like his whole thing is he wants to kill pirates over anything else, then it makes a little bit more sense, because it can include him actually showing an act of mercy. I think it's easier for him to believe that he did an act of mercy because it would proceed towards the goal of wiping out pirates, in contrast to him showing mercy for the sake of showing mercy to his buddy Kuzan.
Yeah, but
and they weren't even buddies,
Yeah, I still think, like, even going back to Ohara, Aokiji was completely, like, devastated by the fact that Akainu destroyed the civilian ship that was leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like even though they go for the same goal, I feel like now Aokiji just has too much of an issue with how Akainu does things, especially since he's in control now. You know.
Yeah, and I think that's a strong counterpoint. I mean, maybe like you could say like, well, in a way, Kuzan, by doing this, Kuzan's like in a way not under his direct control because he's like doing his own special op thing, you know. So in a way, it kind of alleviates him being under his thumb. But maybe he made a deal with Akainu too, with how he would run the Navy by putting himself in this position as well. You know,
maybe he told him to stay in his office. Maybe that's why he can't leave.
Stay there. You're like, we don't want you to cause any more harm.
I'll take care of everything. I'll take care of everything out there.
Well, because like I do agree with your point. He was disgusted and outraged by the Ohara thing, but the thing is, though, he chose to stay in the Navy at the same time. You know, like that didn't break the straw. He helped Robin escape, and he still was pretty ruthless as a Marine. And I think kind of like the whole thing is like. I mean, similar with Kobe, right? Kobe is like Luffy's bestie, but at the same time, you know, I'm not going to spoil anything, but we can see basically that he has a really, really strong desire to stop Luffy, even though at the same time, like, they're best friends, you know? And I think, like, just because people show moral compass as Marines, it doesn't mean, like, they want to abandon the project entirely, because Garp stayed with it, and even in this episode, Garp said, Kuzan, come back to the Marines. And even though Garp is fully cognizant of what Akainu's been doing and what the world government does, he still thinks it's like worth it long term to be a Marine, you know? So I think it's like an interesting contrast because like you see Kuzan all disillusioned with the Blackbeard pirates. He leaves, but then you see Garp. He's probably seen a lot more shit than Kuzan has, to be fair. And he's still saying come back. It's still worth it, even though we have bad people in the Navy, you know. So, yeah, and obviously Garp was his mentor as well, too, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I would. I don't know. For me, I would say maybe it's I would say 25% chance that it was faked. Maybe 30. But. There is some strong evidence, like you said, though.
Yeah, because wait, let me think here. Yeah, so Big Mom was infiltrated by Stussy, kind of infiltration, you know, by the world government.
Yeah,
you know, Drake did Kaido. Maybe the monkey on Shanks is actually a Marine agent. The more I think about it.
I mean,
and then
he was back in Romance Dawn, so that's a long con.
Deep up, you know. And I mean, as we saw with Cyberpool, you know, they could stay for a long time, you know, like in Eni's Lobby and you know, the Galley Company and all that. So,
yeah.
But I do think it's kind of like, I guess like Shanks, you can make an exception in the sense that they just view them differently, you know, the red hair pirates, you know. Like Sengoku they, you know, view him differently, and I think Blackbeard having Whitebeard's fruit, his the Yami Yami fruit, and then stealing devil fruits, and then having the poneglyphs might be enough of an impetus to be like, okay, like he has a devil fruit to destroy the world and the ancient weapons. We need to get over our egos and actually like stop this guy, from any cost necessary, you know.
Yeah. But
because it is weird. Yeah, sorry, go. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say the main point for me, like we don't know why exactly Kuzan joined up with Blackbeard, whether it was disillusionment with the government, but like you said, like he was there at Ohara with the Buster Call, and that wasn't enough. But but yeah, the main sticking point is the reason why he's with Blackbeard. But I mean, ultimately, he could betray him, and that could lead, like, if Blackbeard gets the final poneglyph and goes to the final war or whatever, that could be the Marines' way in if Aokiji leads them in, if he was double crossing him, you know?
Yeah, I guess it's just like, I guess for me, like, the goodness of Kuzan and the evilness of Akainu are kind of both like make me think, yeah, it's just like a fake where it's so hard to see Kuzan would go so far down, just because it wasn't because of Ohara that he went so far down, but it was like Akainu getting in charge of the military. Like, him losing a fight is what made him disillusioned. And to join it's one thing to leave, it's another thing to join the most evil people in the pirate world, you know? So there's a part of me that I find that a little hard to believe. And then obviously Akainu sparing somebody for the sake of mercy, I find that harder to believe too, you know? And that's why I kind of think that I mean, you can make the argument that Blackbeard's a worse force for the world than the world government, but I mean, at the same time, we don't know Emun's goal at the same time. So, But if he had such an issue with the world government on a moral level, he would have just joined the revolutionaries, which he didn't.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So, anyways, yeah, those are kind of my thoughts. Do you have anything else to add on to this?
No, not really. I think it would be a pretty big twist if it was faked, but I could see the points that Oda planted where it could be possible.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a lot of twists before, and I think this would be like a huge twist just because of how long this has been set up for.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. Yeah. Anyway, so please like and subscribe, everyone. Give your thoughts below on our little theory discussion here. And we'll see you guys soon for the next One Piece manga chapter review coming out this week. So, peace.
See ya.